unborn children and the dreams of a better day to come, and the dance with heaven and with earth all live in me. In the land of I am more than I have been. I am more than I will be. I am all that I am. In the land of I am more than I have been. I am more than I will be. I am all that I always had hoped. Always had hoped. Always had hoped. Always had hoped. Thank you so much. Welcome to Unity on the River. Coming on up at our Congo song is Brian Dozer with Let the River Flow.
Come on, Brian. I like you.
Really excited today to have Charles Holt here today. He's our guest speaker, but also a really amazing guest vocalist. So you're in for a real treat. Yeah, and he'll be up shortly at the Heart Opener right before he talks. So it'll be great.
Let the poor man say I am rich in him, and let the lost man say I am found in him. And let the river flow. Oh, let the blind man say I can see again, and let the dead man say I am born again. And let the river flow. Let the river flow. Oh, let the river flow. Oh, let the river flow. Holy Spirit, come and move in power. Oh, let the river flow. Oh, let the river flow. Holy Spirit, come and move in power. Let the river flow.
Let the river flow.
Let the poor man say I am rich in him, and let the lost man say I am found in him. Let the river flow. Oh, let the blind man say I can see again, and let the dead man say I am born again. Let the river flow. Let the river flow.
you are comfortable staying standing and joining the hand of the person next to you, this is surely the presence.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. We hear those words every Sunday. But what would it be like if we just embrace that, to embody that? Not only today, where we feel the presence of God, where we see it in each other, when we feel the presence of love here on Sunday, what would it be like if we brought that out into the world throughout the week? I invite you this week to just ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do to live as the divine presence of I am? What's the one small gift I can give to someone? Whether it's a smile, whether it's an extra $1 in the Dunkin' Donuts jar, whatever it is, how can I be the miracle in someone else's life? Let's take that intention with us throughout the week, throughout our lives. You are the presence of God. You are the embodiment of love. You are the divine. And so it is.
Good morning, Unity on the River. You look marvelous today. Thank you. God looks good today. I'm Gina Genest. I'll be facilitating service today for Charles Holt. And first, I'd like to welcome the streamers. We stream live every Sunday, so everybody give a little wave back there. Good morning, streamers. We'd like to welcome anyone who's here today celebrating with us for the first time with a flower and a welcome packet. So if you are new today, would you raise your hand, please, and we'll bring a packet and a flower over to you. Is anybody here new celebrating for the first time? Some people here? See Charles down front. Just keep your hand up a second so they can find you. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. You can take that flower over to the bookstore today and get a 10% discount on anything that you buy today. And you can visit anybody in the Spiritual Resource Center also in there if you have any questions about Unity on the River. We bless you. We thank you for being with us today. Please know we welcome all paths to God, and you enrich our experience here together. Unity on the River is a center of celebration, transformation, inspiration, spirit-centeredness, oneness, and joy. Please hold these truths in your heart as we say our mission statement together. Our mission statement. We are a vibrant spiritual community that celebrates the presence and our vision statement. Centered in love, we joyously co-create a world of oneness, peace, and harmony. Thank you. So we have some announcements this morning, brief announcements. The first one is about a film that we'll be hosting here called Tomorrow. It's going to be screened here on Tuesday, February 13th, and Rosemary Finn is here today to tell you a little bit more about that. Rosemary, can you come on up?
Hi, I am from Team Tomorrow, and we are a group of people who are bringing this film around to as many places as we can possibly get it out, because it's a film of such importance and optimism. You do not want to miss this film. What? You don't want to miss me. I'll be here Tuesday night too, along with a team from the Team Tomorrow. This is a film that covers 5 chapters: agriculture, energy, economy, democracy, and education. And it follows people around the world, different countries, that have created solutions to the problems of all of these areas. I'm only going to read you a little bit about the conclusion. It says, "A new version for the world, where power and authority are not the privilege of a few, where everything is linked, interdependent, in a network like in nature. A more complex world where our real strength is diversity, where each person in each community is more autonomous, therefore more free, has more power, therefore more responsibility. These people are writing a new story. They are saying it's not too late, but we have to get moving now." This film is hoping that what we're going to do is create some affinity groups. It has been shown. This will be the 5th time I've seen this film. It offers so much information. I could probably watch it 25 times and still get something from it. So we're starting affinity groups in each one of the chapters. Many of them have already formed. We're hoping to bring them all together here. They'll meet on Tuesday nights here. You'll learn more about that on Tuesday night, but I can't encourage you more. This is a film that really should be seen by everyone. Hopefully you can all help us bring it to schools and children and just get it out, because it's got answers, really good answers.
It's an outstanding film.
It is an outstanding film. So be here, please. 6:30.
All right, what else is happening this week? We have Absolute Abundance, begins on March 5. Come take this 10-week course with Reverend Ogun Holder. It's an amazing interactive and creative course that includes a variety of exercises, videos, games, reading, and other learning modalities that teach participants about abundance in many different aspects of their life. Sign-ups are here in the Spiritual Resource Center. It's 10 weeks, and registration will close after the 2nd week. Next, Denise DeSimone will be our guest speaker coming up next week on the 18th. Her talk will be titled, "Upgrade Your Attitude So You Don't Live Life in the Past Lane." It's expected to be a hit. Stay after for her 12 p.m. workshop, The Sound of Your Dreams. Cost is $25, and sign-ups are available in the Spiritual Resource Center. Also coming up, Healer's Open House is next Sunday, February 18. If you are a practitioner and would like to sign up, you can do that in the Spiritual Resource Center as well. And one reschedule change that's happening today is last week we were talking about a workshop I was doing. It was more of a group, the Compassionate Communication Integration Group. We're going to meet the 2nd Sunday of every month. It was supposed to start today, but we're rescheduling to begin in March, on March 11. And this group will meet the 2nd Sunday of every month. It's integration for anybody who's taken any of the classes I've taught here on compassionate communication or untangling anger, based on the work of Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication. So if you're interested in that integration group and have taken that with me, we'll start next month. Thank you. So now's the time in our service. Oh, wait a minute. Yep, now's the time in our service when we greet each other in Namaste. When we see each other, we say, "I see you, I see your beauty, I see your magnificence, I see the divine in you." Namaste. have with us today a guest, Charles Holt. Charles is an actor, a singer, and producer who has starred in some of the most celebrated productions in American theater history, including Smokey Joe's Cafe, Jesus Christ Superstar, and The Lion King. He was the first African American to play the role of Rocky in the European tour of Rocky Horror Show. He and fellow actor Gerald Rivers chronicled the life of Martin Luther King Jr. through their presentation, Martin in Music. Charles has entertained sold-out audiences, such as the John F. Kennedy Center, and has appeared on television and in films. On the music front, Charles's debut album, I Am, garnered rave reviews and was followed by the new classic, Rushing Over Me. He tours colleges, universities, and spiritual centers around the world, performing his soul music concert series, A Journey Through an African-American Quilt of Song. I'm pleased to introduce Charles Holt. Thank you.
Good morning. So honored and grateful to be here. Rolling river God, little stones are smooth, only once the water passes through. Now I am a stone, rough and grainy still, trying to reconcile this river's chill. But when I close my eyes and feel you rushing by, I know that time brings change, and change takes time. And when the sunset comes, my prayer will be just one, that you might pick me up and notice that I am just a little smoother in your hands. Sometimes raging wild, sometimes swollen high, but never have I known this river dry. The deepest part of you is where I want to stay and feel the sharpest edges wash away. But when I close my eyes and feel you rushing by, I know that time brings change, and change takes time, and when the sunset comes, my prayer will be just one, that you might pick me up and notice that I am. I'm just a little smoother in your hands. Rolling river God, these little stones are smooth. It's only once the water passes through. And when I close my eyes, I feel you rushing by. Then I know that you picked me up and noticed that I am. I'm just a little smoother in your
Charles Holt, give it up.
My. Beautiful. Thank you, band.
Thanks, Mickey.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Charles.
I have to take a breath after that. It's just, it's not quick turnaround. I am so grateful and so thankful to be here today. This is my first time in Amesbury. Thank you. Been to the Boston area several times, but not been to Amesbury, so thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your grace. And thank you for welcoming me to your beautiful community. I am in transition, I think all of us are. So when transition comes, I always have to move. So I was living in Los Angeles for 12 years. I had moved to Los Angeles from Nashville. And somewhere between the summer of 2015 and January, actually it was New Year's Day 2016, I got this urge, I've got to go. Something is calling me back. And I said, oh, okay, I'm going back to New York. I'm going back to Broadway. That's where my heart is. So I packed up my buggy and I headed back September 16. So I'm driving cross country and I think, well, maybe I should stop in my hometown of Nashville, Tennessee first. I'm being led to stop there. My sister was selling the last house that my parents lived in. But that house sat on the parcel of land that my father grew up on. The other 4 parcels, 2 of those were where my swing set was and where the house was that I grew up in. Nothing's in the house but my mother's bedroom suit. My sister calls me. She says, well, the house has been sold, so you'll only have 2 or 3 days to stay there. I said, no problem. I'll be out of your way and on to New York in a few days. She calls back, a couple of hours, they rescinded. I said, oh, so I'll stay here as long as I can. I wake up each morning with this urge, this voice. It says, pray. I want you to pray. It's the voice of my grandmother. I stayed with Granny. I'm the third child. Granny's house was right next to that parcel of land where that last house was being sold. And I would go to Granny's house, 3 and 4 years old. My brother and my sister are both over a decade older than I am. They were in school. And my grandmother was a self-taught pianist, and she insisted on me learning hymns and spirituals and anthems. Now, at the age of 3 and 4 years old, that was the last thing that I wanted to do. And she'd say, come over here, sit right next to me, and I'm going to teach you a hymn. I tried to get out of it. I said, Granny, I don't know that song. She said, just open your big mouth, repeat after me. And she would pretend like she was plucking these notes out on the piano. She didn't have a piano at home, so she'd play on her knees. And she'd tilt her head back and she'd say, great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not thy compassions, they fail not. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. And I'd look up and Granny would have tears. I thought something was wrong with Granny. I'd tap on Granny's knee. Granny, Granny, are you okay, Granny? My grandmother didn't talk a lot. She'd tilt her head up and nod. Yes, Granny's just fine. But something would happen in that room every time my grandmother opened up her raspy, out-of-tune alto voice. She's telling me to pray. I've written a curriculum on emotional literacy and learning. She says, why don't you go and let the people at the education building know what you're doing? I said, well, I'm only going to be here for a short period of time. This is all in a prayer. So I said, okay, I'll go. I go and I sit down with the student superintendent. He's the support executive at the Nashville Public School System. And I'm talking to him about the 4 pillars of my curriculum: mindfulness and creative and introspective writing and process drama and empowerment. And he's steady dialing phone number. And he lets me get halfway through my presentation and he says, you have a meeting with the principal at one of the K through 4 schools next Wednesday. We need you. And I go. And the principal sits me down for about 5 minutes and he said, we're so excited to have you. I'd like to introduce you to the class that you're going to be teaching. I said, well, wait a minute. He said, would you like to meet him? I said, I guess so. Take me to them. So he takes me to this room and there's 14 3rd and 4th grade boys running around the room. And he's talking and I'm just watching them circle me. And he says, this is them. And I tilt my head like my grandmother up. And I say, God, I'm supposed to be going back to Broadway. This is not what I envisioned. And all I hear is, this is it. This is where you're supposed to be for now. One of the little boys, he's a 4th grader, he comes up to me and he grabs my shirt and he says, your name's Mr. Holt. I said, yes, it is. He said, Mr. Holt, I have something to show you over here. Will you come and look? I think you'll be interested. And in that moment, my life went all the way back to my childhood. See, I stayed with Granny. My grandmother championed me just like my mother. I was a straight A student. Got everything that I wanted. I was a brat. Smiled. Please. Wish granted. The only person that I could not get through was my father. My father was born in 1925. Tall, dark-skinned man, strict. Don't do this, you don't do that, you don't talk like this, you don't. And by the time I came around, I was fully self-expressed. I talk to anybody who I want to, when I want to, not how I want to. But there was a problem. And I loved my daddy. I'd run up to him and I'd say, Daddy, Daddy, can you come out and play with me? I'd grab him by his pant leg and my father would whisk my hand away from him. Little boys don't go around touching people. You don't do that. You talk too much, too. Look at your report card. You get straight A's and your conduct is you talk too much. Well, at the age of 5 years old, I could let all of that roll off my back. Each weekend I would go, Daddy, Daddy, this is the day I'm going to play ball outside. Come and play with me. I don't have time, he would say, and stop touching me. Little boys don't touch people. Well, this went on for years. And by the time I was about 9 years old, in the 4th grade, I'd come up with it. I got the answer. I said, my father is always telling me that I shouldn't be touching people. I shouldn't talk to people. I shouldn't run around running my mouth. And I got it. Something is wrong with me. Let me change. So I did. I stepped back. Reclusive. Became the football player. That boy. And at every corner, I would run up to my father and I'd say, Daddy, guess what? I scored a touchdown today. And he'd say, oh, that's nice. I was 15 years old. I was getting letters from every school around the country. I was one of the fastest kids in the South. And so in my heart, I wanted my father to be a support, that person that I could call and say, Daddy, where do you think I should go to college? What do you think would be the best suit for me? Well, by this time, the impulse to even talk to him had been beaten out of me by experience. And I said, you know what? I just need to go it alone. I can do it. I don't need him. Graduated from college. Didn't end up in the NFL, but ended up in IBM, marketing representative. And I thought to myself, this will do it. I'm a man now. Get my own apartment, have my car and everything, and I'll go and tell Dad, and he will finally validate me, approve me. And I went and told him, I said, Daddy, I'm a marketing representative. Now I have a great territory, and I'm making a lot of money right out of college, and I have my own place. What do you think? And he says, oh, that's so nice. I was living in Memphis at the time, which is 3 hours west of Nashville. And I was driving back to Memphis, and I saw this sign that said, Jesus cares for you. It was on a billboard, and I pulled over. And I said, I don't care if Jesus cares for me. I want my daddy to care about me. It continued. But at every round, there was still that hint inside of me that he's finally going to say something. And I love you would be good. I'm proud of you. You did a good job. Anything. Worked for IBM for 2 years. Then I went to another company. And a year later, they fired me. By this time, I was singing in nightclubs, jazz clubs, open mic. It was nothing big. just washing off the week. I'd sing those songs that my grandmother taught me. They were healing me. This gentleman walks up to me and he says, there's something when you sing, the room changes. And I said, oh, thank you. What does that mean? He says, I don't know, but things shift when you sing. Have you ever thought about doing musical theater? I said, absolutely not. I'm a football player. We don't do musical theater. What is musical theater? He said, you ought to audition. I started to audition. Started booking everything, not just booking, but I'd book the lead. And I got a break, moved to Atlanta, and something said, wow, I've always wanted to play big. What's Broadway like? Mind you, my life had never been in this vein. But I wanted to go to New York, and I wanted to see what Broadway was like. I went to New York. A month later, I get the national tour of Jesus Christ Superstar. Not just Jesus Christ Superstar. I got it with Ted Neely and Carl Anderson, the original Jesus and Judas from the 1972 motion picture. And I played Simon, and I understudied Carl Anderson as Judas. And my life continued to just spiral up until one day. I had remembered when I got to New York, I thought, oh my goodness, this is great. This is where I belong. New York is where I belong. And in the back of my mind, I said, and yes, I'm far away from him. I was on tour with Jesus Christ Superstar, and we had a long stretch from Casper, Wyoming to Long Beach. We were on a sleeper bus, and I'd gotten a couple of hours of sleep, and I went up and started talking to the bus driver, and I was talking with him, and I said, well, this is my thing. I'm from Nashville, and about that time, I see something coming towards the bus. I see it in my right periphery, and I make a sharp move, and there it is. It's like an apparition, the face of my father. It followed me the entire tour, January 1997. I was sitting on my bed. I was living in Harlem at the time, and something said, call him now. I knew what it was about. I called. My mother answered the phone. I said, Mama, is Daddy there? She said, yeah, he's right here. Is everything okay? I said, yes, I need to speak with him. I'd garnered all this courage just to dial the numbers, and my father answered the phone in that tone. Hello. And all of that courage just left. And I began to talk with him, and I said, do you remember when I was 5 years old and you told me to stop touching you? You didn't want me around you. Do you remember any of that? Do you remember this? And do you remember saying that? I said, that really had an effect on my emotions. He says, oh, I'm sorry, but I think you got the wrong person. I don't remember any of that. I don't remember saying any of that. And I heard the voice say it. And I said, Daddy, I forgive you. Silence. I became angry. No response. No responsibility. So I went down the other laundry list. And then I hear that voice. That voice. Tell him. Tell him what you really think about him. And I said, Daddy, I love you. I always have and I always will. Silence. And I get off the phone and I cry and I cry and I cry. And I wake up and I hear this celebratory voice say, congratulations, you did it. I did what? I said. You called him, you told him exactly what you thought about him. I said, and he didn't say a word. He didn't respond at all. And I heard the voice say, it wasn't for him. It was for you. You stepped into your sacred covenant with yourself. January 1997 until 2009, every time I saw my daddy, I'd say, Daddy, I love you. He'd look at me and he'd say, mm-hmm. My mother calls me. She tells me that my father has been diagnosed with end-stage renal disease. He's decided to forego dialysis. And I call him, and she calls me back. She says, what did you say to him? I said, I told him that it was his life, that it was his choice, that we would miss him. But I thanked him for being here on the planet. And if he wants to leave, he can. She said, well, he's staying. The last 4 years of my father's life were revealing. He told me how it was growing up in the South, being in the war. And he would laugh. And under his laugh, one day I got it. I heard the pain. I heard what was under the tongue. And I said, not only is he my father, not only is he daddy, he's a person. The last 5 days of my father's life, I was there with him, the palliative ward at Vanderbilt Hospital. And my father could not speak to me, but I went into meditation. I have always known that there's different realms that we can communicate in. And I asked him, I said, Daddy, what was this all about? My relationship with you. He said, oh, we had a hard time, didn't we? He said, but I want to let you know that I loved you. I always did. I just didn't know how to tell you like you wanted me to. But I want you to take our relationship and how we got to this place, and I want you to teach young men and women how to navigate that pain. They're going to need it. So I come back to that boy that's grabbing me. Mr. Holt, Mr. Holt, will you come and look at what I've done? And I don't see him anymore. I see me. And I said, yes, let me hurry over. Never expected that. Now I'm teaching 3rd and 4th grade men, boys and girls. And I have to say, I'm so grateful for forgiveness. I'm so grateful for that relationship with my father, because I learned how to get under that rock. There's a treasure under there, and I see them when I go to school. They healed me. Right now, if you just take a breath with me here. And if you get in your mind, if there's something or somebody that you just, sometimes it's just you think about them and it's, oh, to me, that's a tough one, God. The very mention of their name is, oh, let me go do something else, make myself busy. That one. And if you can just see them and see past all of the facade of the natural mind and get to the place where you can just step into your sacred covenant and say, okay, God, I'm ready. It hurts, but I can make the leap. I can release them, and I can free myself because I've got work to do. Here. Somebody needs to see me. Without all of the hidden, let me go over here and make myself busies. I want to see you, Mr. Holt. I invite you right now, whatever it is that you need to say to your soul, if it's I forgive me, I forgive them, let it go. Beyond forgiveness. And what I've learned is that this is a life of letting go, so that something else greater can come in. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Unity on the River. As we go deeper, oh, Father, Mother God, how great thou art. How wonderful, magnificent, marvelous, and grand and glorious thou art. Oh, you are everywhere, everywhere present. How divine your nature. Eternal wisdom, we're so thankful and grateful. And see beyond the eyes of appearances and hear beyond the ear that is natural. That which is calling us forth now. We're so grateful we sit, stand in a field of gratitude for what has happened, what has crossed our path. Who has crossed our path? Thank you. Now the question is, what's the lesson? How do I get under the rock and go deeper? It's right here. Let's take the next 30 seconds and just be in that place where we listen to the voice of the divine. As we come back to the room, we still sit in that place of deep gratitude. The rolling river, allowing the water to smooth the edges. And we say, God, thank you. Thank you, Divine Spirit. For now, this I do see, this I do hear, and it is good, good and very good. And for this and so much more, I am grateful. And we say, and so it is. Amen.
You have the prayer box, please. As we hold these names and these requests for prayers in our hearts, we see the recipients and the requests. We see their divinity. We hold the truth of who they are. We see them in the abundance of love. We see them in the abundance of wholeness and health, their true essence. And if there are those that you would like to hold in prayer, I invite you to say their names out loud. And we hold these in our hearts in love. We hold the truth for those and these that are having difficulty seeing it for themselves. Let us hold that for these and know that the divine essence of all that is good is their trueness, their truest self. And so it is. Amen.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
Thank you, Charles, for those beautiful and heartfelt words this morning. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the beautiful souls who volunteer here, our prayer chaplains. Please rise if you are able. These wonderful people can meet with you for prayer or gratitude or to simply sit in silence with you after the service. Please know they will hold your prayers and intentions in the strictest of confidence. Also, if you are in need, we have home and hospital prayer chaplains that will do home visits for recuperation or hospital stays. Please see Reverend Annie Houghton or one of the home and hospital prayer chaplains. Today, if you have questions, is anybody here from the home and hospital? Catherine, you can see Catherine. Thank you. I'm just going to say on that, I've heard from Ann, some people say, oh no, I don't want to bother anybody. They want you to call. They do, okay? Remember, you can also submit your prayer request in the prayer box, which is located at the back of the room. And the Unity on the River now has a dedicated phone line that will take prayer requests as well. Our prayer team in Silent Unity will pray over your requests. And now is the time in our service when we prepare our tithes and offerings. Please hold them and breathe into our energy of abundance as we say our affirmation. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Thank you, guys.
We receive these gifts and bless these gifts and bless all those of you who have given openly and freely, knowing that these gifts are gifts of gratitude, gratitude for the spiritual nourishment that we come to seek, gratitude to get the great speakers like Charles Holt and others that continue to nourish us and inspire us. Let us all also hold the Spirit on the River in our hearts and love, knowing that the right and perfect outcome is there for Spirit on the River and unity on the river. And so it is. Amen.
So we have a number of thank yous to make for today. General thank yous. It takes so many people to give their time and help with Sunday service. Thank you for all you do for sacred service. This week's angels, Bob, Astrid, Shinkai, Diane, Jim, Jack, and Jay. Our teams, thank you to the Youth and Family Ministry, the live stream team, the PowerPoint team, the music ministry team. Thank you to the board members. If you are here today, would you please stand? Board members are available for you. They can answer your questions or discussion after service. Thank you also to those who make the Wednesday night service happen. This week will be prayer and healing service with Catherine Erickson at 7 p.m. I want to be here for that. And now, Charles will sing for us again. I Am.
Ooh, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. An angel asked me, do you know who you are? The question and the answer is not very far. The song of the sages, the knowledge of the ages is living where you reside. You have the key that unlocks the door to enter in that sacred place you haven't gone before, where deep meets deep, soul to soul. Feel that connection as the truth unfolds. I am, I am, I am, I am. You are, I am. You are the answer, yes, you are the key that unlocks the door to freedom and leads you to me. Look deep inside you, trust the force that guides you, it knows the way. Yeah, there's no separation, we're one and the same, a child of the Creator, known by different names. The Alpha and Omega, the eternal flame that burns deep inside you. Do you know my name? I am, from the mountains to the oceans. I am, from the rocks to the trees. I am, all the stars and constellations. I am, you are. I am, from the mountains to the oceans. I am, from the rocks to the trees. I am, all the stars and constellations. I am, and you are. I'm spiritual and mystical. I am light, I am love. I live in you and you live in me. From the very low to the heavens above, I am. Come on, put your hands together. There's no separation, we're one and the same, a child of the Creator, known by different names. The Alpha and Omega, the eternal flame, it burns deep inside you. Do you know my name? I am, from mountains to the oceans. I am from the rocks to the trees. I am all the stars and constellations. I am you I am peace that passes all understanding. I am the joy that's overflowing. I am the love in abundance. I am you are. I am.
All right, let's bring in the youth and family. We are
Good morning. We had another awesome day. We also had a guest speaker, Susan Burdick, and she talked to the kids. Yes, thank you so much. She talked to the kids about love and how it's easy to love the people that love us, but a little harder to love the people that, you know, there's a little more friction. And, you know, these guys are the lesson all the time. They have the most amazing things to say. So we had a little project. Next week we have Dr. Roxy come in for another guest speaker in the youth and family. It's really exciting because it lets the rest of us just bring our enthusiasm. So, have a good one.
Thank you. We also like to remind you that Charles Holt has CDs and books in the bookstore for sale. Please visit them out there. And please rise as we say our peace song, as we sing our peace song. Who would like to come back and pray with me? All right, awesome. 3 boys.
Presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and we are richly blessed.
great help today, and the choir, wonderful job. Thank you, guys.